Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Well Now. We're a show about all things health, wellness, and hope, and all aspects of health, wellness, and living life to your fullest with your greatest intentions in place. And I love to collect and speak to people and messengers, I like to call them, from all around the world, to share their story, to share their talents, to share their gifts, and to share their books. My name is Angie, and I am your host. And today we have an author on Well Now, and Mark Simpson is his name, and he has written a book called Light Up the World: Inspiration for a New Humanity. It's a beautiful book. I'll show everyone the book because we're going to do it a couple of times. And Mark is an inspirational speaker. He's a writer and committed to raising personal and collective consciousness. I know he's also a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher and encourages transformation, healing, and awareness. I also know he's a musician, but he hasn't got that on his website. But I'd like to say thank you for your time today, Mark, and welcome to Well Now.
Thanks, Angie. It's a pleasure.
I'm so glad to have you here. I was given your book a little while ago now, and as soon as I picked it up, I actually felt the heart in it. It really connected to me straight away, and it's just beautifully presented. But just I was able to feel the intention behind the book, and for me. I didn't even have to read it. I knew it was a very special sort of book that was written from your heart. And I didn't know you really before then. I chatted probably to you once or twice, but yeah, it's a beautiful, actually, the intention behind it is beautiful. I know that it was through a journey you wrote this book. It's a book of poetry and prose, and it's to inspire new ways of being within ourselves and for the collective, really, I suppose, which is interesting that it's come out at a time. Well, it came out late last year, was it? But at a time that we're experiencing right now, working with self and also understanding collective. So I just wanted to, obviously, we'll get to the beginning of it. How did you start? What inspired you to start writing it? Because I know that it must have been in the beginning of you, but you do say it took a few years to write it, and it was through your own personal journey of inquiry. And I suppose that took you through times of darkness, or because the book is a very interesting journey through darkness and through inquiry, darkness and light. And awakening and all sorts of things. But how did the inspiration first come to start putting this down, or why?
Right. Thanks for kind words about the book to start with. It's very lovely. It really is a book about heart, and that is definitely where I have written it from. It's, I think, in actually writing the book, I have been going through a time of great personal change.
Right.
Probably, it started years ago on some level, and then through a period of 3 or 4 years of some inquiry, some different experiences, personal situation upheavals, and different choices. Sort of through that period, basically, in terms of processing various parts of that, I started to write, and some of it started coming out as poetry, which I've always had a bit of a leaning towards some of that sort of poetic and musical kind of expression anyway.
Yeah.
But I actually find that it was coming out that way, and was a really helpful means of expressing some deep feelings about changes in perspective, changes in personal experience. It was a really helpful way of actually expressing some of that.
Yeah, beautiful.
And so the poems they came together over a period of maybe 3-4 years, and then I realised I had a beautiful collection of poems, but I actually had much more to say about all of them, and also that they fitted into a narrative arc. Because actually there is a process, sort of line that actually runs through it all. and that I have more to say about each of the sort of poems themselves, but also the sort of the subject matter to which they point. Because from our perspective, it was very much a case of, well, this is a process that's happening internally and a deepening understanding of both myself, but also how things work and even the nature of reality and what we, how we understand ourselves. There's a reflection of both that what happens at a personal level is happening in the collective. And we have the same opportunities and the same patterns pretty much exist at a personal level, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and they're expressed in the collective. And we're seeing that well, certainly in our current circumstances, but even before that, this potential raising of consciousness, if you want to call it that.
So because it is definitely a raising of consciousness, and obviously being where we are at this moment with the collective or with the world or with what's happening at the moment, there's a lot of us really turning within, seeking within, which is obviously something that you did through poetry and then the prose, and worked with that, and it created this this wonderful collection and this wonderful book for people to pick up and feel some peace. I know that there is like a way through the book, and like you said, it created an arc and a process, and you can read it, and it is a book from front to back. But I also found it quite, for myself, I found it quite helpful just to open it up. And there were sections, obviously, that were resonating within my life at that time that I really connected to and spoke to me. And so it can be a book that also is very, functional in the fact that you just pick it up and you'll open it up to a place where, is just perfect for you at that time. But with that arc sort of idea, Mark, the idea of the arc, Mark, I'm just wondering, you have sort of you said the processes, and I know that, what is the process? What is it? Is it something that you share with others? Is there a way through it? Is this about expanding? Is this book about working with and expanding self? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think.
Good.
There's both a way of being and a process of inquiry that I think is open to everyone. Whether we choose to actually turn our attention inwards to what that means for each of us is something, not everyone turns towards some of that.
No.
If you want to call it that. It's it's a huge invitation, and I think if you look at many different models, it's actually part of our natural maturing and continuing expansion as beings, that actually we outgrow certain stages in our lives, and there is an opening to greater authenticity, greater connection, that much deeper sense of self, and a far deeper sense of connection to the rest of the world, and how things really work. And there is part of that process of authenticity and emergence that is almost the undoing of some of those conditioned patterns. This is not completely new. It's all sorts of
some people call them belief systems. Some people call them patterns. So do you come from a philosophy, or are you spiritual, or is there, or has that, through where you started the book to where it ended, did that transform? How did that all?
No, I mean, I think really that there were some experiences and insights that started to really just inform the whole journey, to be honest. Actually, a fundamental shift in a sense of self. It's much deeper and, yes, profoundly spiritual. I mean, that word comes with a lot of different connotations, but certainly a sense that, well, I'm much more than just a body and a mind, and that there's great potential in that space too. So that was kind of the initial part, if that's
Yeah. And I mean, you can call it spirit, soul, light. There are a lot of different words for the being that we are, not just the mind and the body, but the inspiration, some people call it, and that is the part that you share with us through this book. And it's very, I feel it's quite vulnerable in places, and you allow us, the reader, to go into it and into how you're feeling to really understand the transformation, what is actually happening. It is a beautiful book of hope as well, and I find that really exciting, because it's not just about constant transformation, although there is transformation in every day and every moment and every choice, but the hope is the beautiful thing. There is always transformation into more light, into encompassing your soul or your spirit at a greater level. Would you agree with that? Or
absolutely, it is both for ourselves, our really deepest sense of self, but it's also then what we are able to contribute to others. You know, it's our families, our communities, our society, all of those things. You know, through actually doing that inner work of transformation. You know, part of the process is, you know, even if we touch some dark spaces, and part of it is turning towards our shadow, both personal and collective, but actually we're able to do that with love and compassion and kindness. We're able to be with ourselves more authentically and better, but also that informs our way of being. And ultimately that has to then find its expression in the world. And really, we need some action and ways of being in the world that are more grounded in those kind of qualities.
Yeah.
And a deeper sense of connection to nature. I mean, nature's a pretty strong theme in the book too, but really it is those heart-centered qualities that are encouraged through that. And that's we need it.
Yeah. It's really about embracing all the parts of ourselves, as you were saying, the darkness, because a lot of people go, oh no, I won't feel that, or I don't want to go into that because it's dark, it's negative, but it's actually stepping into that and understanding it, embracing it with kindness, accepting it's part of our humanity, to integrate it all and to move forward with the dark and the light into the light, but integrating it all. And I think that with the book, it's really it really shows that it's okay to really sit with it and sit with the transformation that's happening, to sit with that darkness that is there at that time, because the hope is it will shift once we embrace and move forward with it. And yeah, you're saying nature and all those heart-centered sort of, for people that are listening, some of the heart-centered emotions of what we or space that we, it's good to connect to. Nature as being one, people that you love. What are some of the things that you speak about in the book about being heart-centered and connecting to the light, to the self, to all that you are?
For me, those heart-centered qualities, are basically, kindness, compassion, joy, particularly in the well-being of others, and that's both, for ourselves and really, the greater humanity. We have a long way to go in terms of what our potential is, both personally and collectively, and also inclusiveness. Really, there is part of that that's both about embracing all of who we are, not turning away from yes, our wonderful qualities, and yes, it's so easy to get distracting in a world that really sells us so many different opportunities for fear and distraction and things that are not very supportive. To actually really, be careful about where our attention goes and produce and do good things in the world.
I suppose it's a great message for where we are right now, because it is about compassion and kindness and understanding and embracing that within ourselves. And being able to do that for self is helps us to do it for the collective, which is happening, right now. There's a lot of us that needs to take the time to sit and look within, because there's not much else to do.
Well, I think it's a time of great potential as well. All of these, it's almost like there's this almost enforced global retreat happening. I mean, normally if you're in a sort of retreat type space, you get support and help and some guidance along the way with that.
Yes.
Where we are collectively at the moment, I guess, a lot of people are being forced into to be both with themselves and sometimes with the things that, these might not necessarily be working, but also, you can also have time to explore their gifts and all of those kind of wonderful things. They're all available now because it's a very introspective kind of space that we've been put into.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
But I think that sense of great opportunity also arises from those spaces, and that's that's certainly in the book, but it's in this sort of space too, that actually through that sort of deep looking, we actually see both our connectedness. I mean, really, this is a time where we're seeing that too in the collective, because our reliance on food and essential health and
absolutely
the values that we actually really probably should orient ourselves around a little bit more are being shown up. That this is an opportunity for some far more humanistic values to come to the fore, far more than the hyper individualized
consumerism.
We have a lot, that's on offer a lot of the time.
A lot of the time. We're on a lot of the time, just on. No self-reflection. And when you talk about retreat and the world's being forced into retreat, you smile, which is really cool, because I know that that there is hope, and there's a lot of fear out there, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and of course it's as you were saying earlier, it is it's not something that we just walk past, and it's not it is a serious sort of issue, and there are people in pain and suffering, but it's also a time for opportunity and potential, and the hope that's in this space is profound, and we have a chance. Many of us are forced to look in and work with what we have and see what is all about us. And I suppose also, I mean, I'm on socials, not a lot, but a little bit, and you see all this stuff. If you're in isolation and you haven't upskilled, or you haven't learned a new skill, or you haven't finished your book, or you haven't done this, then you're wasting your time. And I don't think that's about that either. You don't have to learn a new language. You don't actually have to do anything if that's not. It's a forced sort of idea that we have to do something. No, we don't.
Yeah.
We just need to sit with self and read a book.
Well, a lot of it, I think, as well, is that it's about our way of being. I think that's it's in the early part of the book. It's an invitation to a different way of being, and I think it's actually can we turn our attention inwards, but also embrace that sense of common humanity. That there is this sort of, we are all connected at a much deeper level, and the superficial has its it has its place and its expression.
Yes.
But in terms of what we need both for ourselves, often it's nurture and kindness and some positive expressions out into the world. I mean, we're definitely seeing that at the moment too. It's not like it's all bad, but actually the common humanity part of it is, it's a big opportunity too.
Yeah, and it is kindness, and I see a lot of that in the world. I think it's really, really great to see. And I feel very thankful that I am sitting in Perth, Australia, because we have been very blessed and looked after very well, and very thankful for all of that. And may all the leaders in the world, be inspired to do that. But as well, and I know that there are things happening, and everyone's doing the best they can, the leaders and that. But I'm just going to read just a little bit of A Change of Heart, because I don't know why I had my little thing in there, but I was obviously picked up your book before I was coming to see you, and had a bit of a look, and it was in A Change of Heart, and I thought it was perfect for right now. And I'll just read the little bit for it. It says, A Change of Heart, and it's part of the poem, the beginning. Time for change, a change of heart, before the world gets torn apart by leaders who think they're doing good, while those who starve and want for food, fear and hurt, while greater deeds remain undone by those who lead. While harm to our environment is sanctioned by our governments, freedom and democracy a sham for those too blind to see. I'm going to keep going, actually. Free to live and free to choose, to please consume and drink the news. Oceans cleared for little food, forest felled, but just for wood. Warn us of the days to come if we don't change and see the world as ours on loan, not to be sold. Is it too late, we ask ourselves, to look inside, find inner wealth, new leaders who will care enough? Great deeds are done by those who love. And that is just for this time, and it's perfect, and that's beautiful. And there is a lot more like that in this book. And I just, when I picked up the book, me and synchronicity and all the intuition and stuff that I do. But I had that actually in the book when I picked it up a couple of nights ago to have a look and look through it and feel through it again. And that was the one that came up, and I thought that was perfect for this time. Where were you with that? Wow, I mean, that's just, it's a little bit like, foreseeing what is to be told, so.
I mean, I think that, to me, that it speaks of, we need heart-centered leadership, basically.
Yeah.
And in enormous amounts that we just have not had before. And it's very easy for this to become sort of a rant on the current state of the world. But at the same time, in a really sort of measured and true way, we have lost our connection to the environment and all that it gives us, the earth, and where our food and resources come from. We have an economic system that doesn't reflect the true value of nature. And we have systems of government and leadership that promote ever-increasing amounts of inequality and disconnection. And I think heart-centered leaders, that sort of great deeds are done by those who love. That's, if we look at the truly great leaders that we've known in society, absolutely operating from that connected space, a real deep understanding of both, yes, connection to nature, but of our whole humanity, and actually
as a whole,
and that we need leaders who can really step into that space and embody that.
Because it's a new space. It's a new way of being, and it's a new way of leadership, for the collective. But I think we're getting there. We are ready for someone like that, and it's a reflection of us as the people.
Yes, I mean, I think that's certainly true. As we change ourselves, we change the world. lots of fantastic examples around the world of people who are doing amazing things.
Yes.
And operating from that space. At some point, we are going to reach a tipping point where actually we are shown that our current systems don't necessarily work and serve humanity or the planet. And that's hopefully coming soon.
I think it's here. It's just, I think we're in the transitionary stage. It just may take us a bit longer to, I mean, change on a personal level takes some time, but on a global, it's going to take, I mean, I don't know how to, we can times it by 10 maybe, because it takes, you know, a whole shift for something like that to happen. And allow us to sit in a space where we're all feeling supported and living in a new way in the world, lighting up the world in a new way, you know. And heart-centered, I suppose the book title is very heart-centered, because when we center in ourselves and in our truth, our gifts, our talents, or just being, you know, being love, or what's on your website? It's love in action. I wrote that down somewhere. He said,
waking up is love in action. It is for everyone.
Love in action, yes.
I mean, I think that is, it's true. You know, if you know, when we look at ourselves, our greatest actions and capacities are the ones that come from that loving space. And it's not always easy. You know, that it's the, you know,
no, it ain't.
It's the easiest thing to just say that, but you know, sometimes that can be, you know, it can really strip away things that are unnecessary, or whether that's old habits or patterns, or you know, there's a beautiful sort of element of compassion that is about clear boundaries. Being sort of lost in the emotional soup of it all. You know, that it has some really, it can be really clear, and that's a wonderful quality too. But you know, it's I think, you know, there's a tendency in that sort of almost new age sense that, you know, if it all just becomes, if it's just too light and fluffy, it's a place where we kind of disassociate and can get lost. Whereas actually there's a really, you know, those beautiful qualities have to have action in the world too. And they have, and you know, there's an inner action as well with that. You know, as we transform ourselves, you know, there's almost that quality of stripping away the parts of us that are not very helpful, or coming into better relationship with them. And we do that out in the world too.
It takes work, man. It's not like it takes work, like work. I mean, it takes work to wake up and be love in action, and that's really what it's about. And I mean, what is waking up? Is it choice? Is it being conscious of choices? Is it, you know, and what is love? I mean, it's translated so differently for so many people, and but yeah, how you explain it and what you're saying, it's really it is really those qualities of heart-centered kindness, compassion, understanding of self and others, that is love in action.
That's definitely part of it. I mean, I think
part of it. Okay, what's the rest?
Well, love is one of those words when it comes to definition, people's idea of love and what that really is. And
completely.
The book is an exploration, I think, you know, in places of what that really is. And, you know, love, you know, there's the romantic card type love, or, you know, Hollywood movies. And that's beautiful, and it has its place in the you know, in our human world, all of that kind of stuff. But it's not, you know, that is not
it.
the
No, it's not it.
truth with a more, well, more
Get those rom-coms off.
challenging.
Oh, that's not it.
But there is both the love is both immanent and transcendent. I think that might be in the book there somewhere. But you know, there's that part that's like, well, okay, really,
love is both immanent and transcendent.
You know, and that it has a very present quality to it in a very deep way in terms of both it's how we interact, how we are, where we are in our physical bodies, emotionally.
Yes.
Things there's an embodied part to that, and then there is and all the ways of being that, you know, and qualities that we've kind of talked about a little bit already. There is a deeper sense of love that is the transcendent part.
Yes.
It is the nature of reality. Yes.
And that's and you find that when you are you're inquiring and reflecting, as you say, you know, it's about inquiring and reflecting. And I think, I mean, it's not the end, and that's, oh, I'm transcendent and I feel love, but it is, I understand what you're speaking about and how it feels to feel that love, of that all-encompassing, you know, transcendence, or that beautiful space.
It's beyond our ordinary sense of I.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
all the stories that we tell ourselves. I mean, and this is the you know, maybe the deeper stuff of inquiry is, well, who are we and what are we really? Like at our absolute essence, not the stories, not our mind patterns, like absolutely at our fundamental essence.
And that is love. Is that what your answer would be to that? I mean, everyone has a different answer. Some people might say I'm light, and what else say, but yeah, it is the
yes, and there's and there's it is that opportunity for that to ask those questions and to be and live in that space. That's what it's about.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you feel that you live in that space?
Not permanently.
No, the time. Floating.
It's you know, I think part of my experience has been there have been interesting experiences. Yeah, you know, touching some wonderful spaces and
yes.
Yeah, elements of existence. But you know, for all of those experiences, ultimately it becomes about learning the lesson and then giving it outward expression. There are points at which there have been fundamental shifts in my sense of self, definitely, and those have been really challenging, because when you have a fundamentally different sense of who you are, there's a period of significant catch-up afterwards where you actually integrate that experience or that realization or whatever it is, and that can be from day-to-day stuff about, well, these are my patterns and habits, and can I relate to them a little bit more constructively and helpfully? You know, that's it at one level, and then there's a much deeper sense of, well, who am I? What am I really here to do? What are my essential qualities? And like the deep down stuff, and yes, that looking within has some consequences, but in a wonderful way too. ultimately, even though we might turn away from that invitation, it's actually it's a wonderful thing, and there is, I would not, yes, even though there's elements of darkness in it, I wouldn't give it up for anything. It's
absolutely
what you come to realize through that is it's beyond any material.
And it is what, who are we? What are we doing here? But we are, yes, not just mind and body, but that is part of all that we are. So to express creatively or live through the body and the mind with spirit or with soul or with light, with love, whatever you wish to call that, is part of our divine existence here, and part of how we express and why we have, for me, it's we've chosen to come here to learn certain things and move forward and, pass on, and then whatever. But that's a whole. But I think it's beautiful to if you feel that, to accept the invitation and to. It's like a challenging of. Well, do we call it a challenge? But it is. It's like looking at self, and can be a great time of uncertainty, confusion of self, because you're actually being asked to look at yourself or look at life, love in a different way, God, spirit, life, love in a different way. And this is where I feel that, that this sort of transitionary part of you happen is within part of this book.
Sure. Well, there's an analogy to it's very close to Joseph Campbell's, his idea of the hero's journey, and it's in many different spiritual traditions, but that there is a call to that deeper sense of who we are, what we are, and
definitely.
There's a similar narrative in this book.
And many of us, I think there are more people waking up to the call, whether they, as you said, accept the invitation or not is entirely up to them, and it comes down to choice.
Sure.
And so that's, I'm just going to read one more before, and this one was another one that was I had a little thing in it, and it was called Undivided, and this is in the chapter Inspiration. Oh, Walk the Earth has just hit me as well. Oh no, different one. I've decided. This one's popped out, and it says Only Love, and it is in the same book and the same chapter, Inspiration, and it's titled Only Love. You don't know now, but will one day. When it comes, you cannot say. Life becomes a living prayer. Only love will take you there. And that's short and sweet and just beautiful. And that's in the inspiration chapter of Mark's book, Light Up the World, Inspiration for a New Humanity. So I usually, with a lot of my guests, Mark, not that there's a point with you because this is your message. I ask, what is your message? If you had one message for the world, what would it be? If you could, I suppose this is the message. This is part of your message, because I'm sure you've got any more books on the way. If you've got any more books on the way, I don't know. But I'm just going to let the listeners and readers and watchers know out there that you can check out Mark's book and purchase that online. It's called Light Up the World, Inspiration for a New Humanity, and it's available on your website, which is marksimpsonbooks.com. And you can also connect on Facebook, which is also Mark Simpson Books. And it's really easy. Mark Simpson is really easy to spell. So I'll pop that on the link as well.
And it's available on all the usual sort of
all the other
online
bookstores. Yes. Yeah. So check that out. So your message, Mark, in simple words, is it light up the world?
In simple terms, there is a way of being that is available to all of us, that there is an invitation to embrace that, and it's much more connected, loving, kind, and embodied, and actually empowered. And I think that's something we miss out of some of this stuff. It's actually, there is a force for good in that.
Yes.
That actually we really need both in ourselves, and we really need it in the world. And there's our personal sense of leadership and our collective leadership, and a reorientation towards that way of being. And yes, some changes to how we behave, how we connect to each other and the world and the planet are needed urgently.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you.
It's a wonderful journey to undertake. To I think that sheer potential. We don't realise a fraction of our collective and individual potential, and this certainly has the power to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And this is a perfect opportunity as well, as many of us are into, some people call it forced isolation, but into a space where we're able to sit and be and contemplate, reflect, inquire if we choose to. And part of that, part of this time now really can be a time for transformation, just as transformation and change within self, and seeking within, and setting those boundaries and understandings. And there's a lot of hope, and keeping the hope, because I think that's really important. And with your book, that it really does light, it does light up the world. It lights up your heart. And as I said in the beginning, it really touched my heart. Even just picking it up, I could feel the intention behind it, Mark. So thank you. Thank you for writing this. Thank you for writing it and sharing it with us, because it's not easy to share the vulnerabilities that you go through in life and pop it on paper, for everyone to bear witness to. So thank you. It's beautiful. And thanks for your time. And I hope we can all connect and sing and play piano and do all that again. Mark is also a very, very talented musician. I think so anyway. But it was lovely to catch up, Mark, and I hope you do well.
Thanks,
in the next few weeks, and maybe we'll catch up again soon when this is all done with the COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So that's Light Up the World, Inspiration for a New Humanity with Mark Simpson. And thanks for joining us, guys, on Well Now. And we'll see you all again next week. But for now, peace, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, Mark. Bye.